Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Financial Tides. Today, I'm your host, Taylor Perillo, certified financial planner, joined by my co-host, John Perillo, also certified financial planner. Thanks for joining us all today, guys. We have a great topic ahead of us. We're going to be talking about retirement today and the three different stages of retirement. So, a lot of people view retirement as just one singular phase of life. They have pre-retirement, then retirement. And for most people, it's only partly true. And that's really because your retirement is actually made up of three distinct phases instead of just one. And those stages are different for each individual, and it really depends on what your health looks like, what your independence looks like, and how you're feeling physically and what you want to do in your retirement. So, as your health changes, so do your spending patterns. And we're going to be talking about how that becomes a part of planning for retirement and how we anticipate the needs changing for different health dependent stages of your life. So, the different stages are really just kind of a general rule of thumb, establishing what we call the spending smile, which is a U-shaped way of spending. So we're going to go into the different details, but at a very high level, you spend more at the beginning of your retirement and you spend more at the end of retirement, and somewhere in the middle, depending for how long your retirement spending can dip just a little bit because you're not doing quite as much. So we need to plan for that and plan drawdown strategies based on how you actually are taking these things into consideration when you're in retirement.
Great. And what we've done is we've labeled these three phases as the go-go years, the no-go years. Oh, sorry, the slow-go years would be the second phase, and then the no-go years is the last phase. So I'm going to first start with the go-go years. That's early in retirement, and a lot of times that'll look just like the years before retirement, where you're still active. You might even be working part-time. You're active with the grandkids. You're traveling. You're doing as much as you've ever done, if not more. You're still replacing vehicles and you're still shopping. Although I do know that men buy less clothes after retirement than they bought in their entire life up until retirement. That's just a fact that I read somewhere that was fascinating. But they buy more golf balls. So the go-go years, can be a lot of fun. And as long as health is good, it's just a strategy of looking at your buckets and your income and deciding, where you want to be during those years and what you can afford to do in your discretionary spending.
Yeah, and I think the big characteristic that we see of the go-go years is a lot of bucket list items are what you want to achieve in these go-go years. They're things, long trips, luxury items that you haven't really treated yourself to at the beginning or through your pre-retirement life, and really factoring those in that, hey, I want to get these taken care of if I didn't get to go on this big trip or Alaskan cruise or whatever it is for your individual goals. Now's the time to give yourself permission to spend on those things and plan for those things so that you can work them into your actual plan. Because what comes next is the slow go years, which the slow go years of your retirement is when you're still able to kind of get around and be active and do things around the house, but you're not really feeling up for sitting down on a plane to go across the ocean to get to Europe or Tahiti or one of those further away destination trips. You don't want to be gone and extended for long hours of the day. You're getting a little bit more tired and your health is still good, but you're not really spending the way that you would typically spend in the early years of retirement. You want more routine and regularity. You want to just count on the things. So maybe you're doing driving trips or just in trips within the US of things that you still haven't seen. So, or even the fact that you might not be traveling as often. Instead of doing two big trips a year, you might say, hey, I want to just do one trip. So people tend to gravitate more towards their inner community at this point of life. They have people coming to them to see them and visiting them, but not necessarily the full loss of that independence yet, just kind of that initial decline in health where you're feeling more tired and not wanting to really quite go as far. So a lot of the discretionary spending that you had set aside for travel or big hobbies in retirement is kind of starting to go down. So this is where you see that kind of bottom part of the smile. It doesn't have an exact set of years that we talk about here because everybody's different. I mean, some people may slow rapidly. Some people may have a long period where they're just really looking for a relaxing lifestyle. Some people may say, hey, I've done everything I wanted to in life, and now retirement's really about that slow go time where I don't really have to do much. So it really just depends person to person. But I think the highlight of the slow go period, whenever that happens for you, is mainly that your costs are likely to decrease because you're not getting to the point where your healthcare costs are taking up a significant portion yet, but you're also not spending a lot on the travel and the big hobbies that you were doing in the early years of retirement, which kind of pivots nicely right to the no-go years.
Good. And before I get into the no-go years, you mentioned the spending smile. Basically, if that's confusing to anyone, it's a U-shaped graph, right? It's just a U, and so that spending goes down toward the bottom of the U, and then it goes up again on the other side of the U as we get into the no-go years. And part of that is not that you're traveling; it's the healthcare expenses that kick in. But so the no-go years are characterized by now there's just not a lot of capacity to do what you did when you were 68, now that you're 88. And again, I hate to define it with numbers like that because everybody's different. Ringo Starr and Mick Jagger are both 83 years old and they're still doing, 2 and 3 hour concerts and touring and jumping on jets. And, so everybody's got a different view of when that no-go years will start. For some people, unfortunately, it starts in their 70s, late 70s. For others, it won't be until 90. So again, don't pigeonhole yourself into a number. Keep moving and enjoy yourself. So at this stage, it's beneficial to stay social with people too, right? Because you can start getting into the point where you're sitting on the couch and watching the newsreel all day, and depression can set in and other issues because you're not active and because you can't really swing the golf club or maybe you need a cane or a walker. So there's got to be some kind of interaction, social life, maybe volunteering, maybe providing companionship for another elderly person. Um, as I mentioned, spending patterns will probably drop on personal stuff and switch to long-term care expenses or assisted living expenses. So,
Yeah, and I think that the big part is that early years of retirement, those clients come to us and they say, hey, I'm not going to travel as much when I get older. And they talk about more of the slow go phase and they want to spend a good chunk of money right off the bat and say, hey, I'm going to decrease lifestyle when I hit those slow go years. But they always forget about that last phase of life, that no go phase where things are going to be expensive still and spending is going to tick back up because of healthcare costs. So I think it's really important to talk about that now because it's often forgot about. And it really is important when you're actually coming up with the plan to account for all three different stages and create a lifestyle and an income that is going to meet those three different stages for however long you want to do them, and just having realistic projections for each distinct stage. So it's impossible to guess and try to pick right, but having an idea of, hey, I have 10 good years of travel in me. At that 10th year, we're going to spend the maximum amount for 10 years, and then we're going to dip down to this income level when we're not traveling. If you hit 12 years and you said, hey, I'm still good, I'm still want to travel, your income, if you were maximizing for those first 10 years, might not be where it needs to be, or you might have to cut from the late stage of life where you have to pay things for medical expenses. So it's really about planning and making sure you're proactive to plan now, so that you can enjoy your retirement, enjoy the adventure, have confidence to embrace the best of each stage and the parts of it, and make sure you have what you need long term. So it's really important to develop that plan. We're here to help you develop that plan and a strategy that's ideal for your income at every stage of retirement. So feel free to contact our office today, set up a meeting. If you're getting to this stage of retirement or in life, or you're changing stages, or just want to talk about anything income wise in general. Thanks so much for watching Financial Tides. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you. Have a great day.
John Perillo and Taylor Perillo are financial advisors offering securities through Cetera Advisors LLC, a registered broker-dealer, doing insurance business in California as CFGA Insurance Agency LLC, member FINRA/SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cetera Investment Advisors LLC, a registered investment advisor. Cetera firms are under separate ownerships from any other named entity. California insurance licenses number 0F60123 and 0M90666, 6265 Greenwich Drive, Suite 251, San Diego, California 92122. The views depicted in this material are for information purposes only and are not necessarily those of Cetera Advisors LLC. They should not be considered specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Neither Cetera Advisors LLC nor any of its representatives may give legal or tax advice.